Hi, I'm Marilyn Sanclementi of Stamp with Marilyn, and welcome to my creative playground. I am so glad I am finally back home, and I am home for like 6 weeks now, which is great. And my cat is loving it. So tonight I'm going to show you the cut, stack, and shuffle method of making cards. And this is a way to use up designer paper, and there's a couple different ways to do. I've seen several different ways to do this. And this one I found out on Karen Titus's website. And so thank you, Karen, for sharing that, because I think that this will work out really well. So these are two of the sets of designer paper that are available during celebration. This set, which you have seen me use a lot, I love, 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 and you can tell that this paper is almost gone. I love this paper, and I love this stamp set. And this is free with a $100 order, and you receive both the paper and the stamp set. So, and like I said, I'm almost out of the paper. And then this is the Rings of Love paper. And this is gorgeous. This has got a lot of different seasons and things in this. So I'm going to show you this technique. And I did make these cards today with the Wonderful Life paper, which is that paper that I love. And these are quick. So it's a good way to make quick cards that you need. You know, if you need a stack of cards, I will use these for thank yous. And I will be putting a lot of items out on eBay this week, items that just retired from the spring catalog and all that. So you can check out my Stamp with Marilyn store as well. So for this particular process, it's called Cut, Stack, and Shuffle. You use 3 pieces of 6x6 paper. So I have cut some of my scrap sheets that I had into these 3 6x6 pieces, and this is the pattern that we're going to use for this. So let me run through this with you, and I just have to grab my cutter here. Okay, so we have a 6x6 sheet. I'm going to put that right there because that's my pattern. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut off 1 3/4. So I'm going to use, with this cutter, you can cut 3 sheets of designer paper. You wouldn't be able to cut 3 sheets of cardstock, but you can definitely cut 3 sheets of designer paper at one time with this cutter. So I'm going to cut off 1 3/4 off. It's either the top or the bottom. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to set these aside, and actually what I would do is save these to use for the insides of the card, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. So now we have this piece, which is 4 1/4 by 3, and we're going to cut those. We're going to cut this in half so that we have 2 sets of 3 by 4 1/4. Oops. Okay, and now we're going to take those 2 sets and we're going to cut that into these individual pieces. So we're going to take this and we're going to cut it in half at 1 1/2. Oops. There we go. Okay. And we're going to set this here, and then we're going to cut this at 2 1/2. Oops, I have it upside down. At 2 1/2. And we will put this, oops, right here. And then we're going to cut this to 1 1/2 by 1 1/2. So this is going to be a square. And we know it's 1 1/2 inches wide. So we're just going to cut a little 1/4 of an inch off of it. So there's our scraps. I'm going to put that there. And we're going to put our squares here. So now I'm going to cut the second piece. And it's going to give me 2 of the same stack, if that makes sense. It'll make sense in a minute when you see it. So then what I did was I chose some cardstock bases that go with these. So this is going to go here. We're going to cut this at 2.5. Oop, there we go. And we're going to cut this at 1.5. So we will again have that 1/4 inch scrap. So there's our scraps. And here are our pieces. And we're done cutting. Okay, now what I have done is, oops, I have pre-cut some pieces of white cardstock. And with these cards, this has a very wide border around it. I cut the white cardstock to 4 by 5 1/4, so it's 1/4 of an inch smaller than the card base. So for this one, I thought I would try, since that has such a wide margin, I thought that I would try doing this one. So this is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. So it won't have quite the margin that this other one had. So what you're going to do with this is, the reason why it's called cut and shuffle is we know we have 3 patterns here. So we're going to, this is the first pattern. So we're going to take one sheet here and put it in the back. So this is pattern 2. And then on this one, we're going to take 2 sheets and move those back. So that is pattern 3. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3 different patterns on each page, and they'll just vary. So you can see how here, this page has the long one is the white background with the multicolor. And then here, it's the 2.5 inches is the white background with the multicolor. And then this is the small square. This is the 2.5 inches on this one. And this is the small square, whereas this is the large one on this. So what's going to happen, because we shuffled them, is we're just going to work off of these now and put these together. So since we started with 3 sheets of 6 by 6, we will get 6 cards out of this since we cut it three ways there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to line this up. I did try and pick colors for the cardstock that are in these papers. So I have mint macaron, which I chose here. I have the yellow, so I used So Saffron. And then because we have these trees, I used crumb cake for my 3 colors for this set of cards. So this is going to look like this. So we're just going to line these up. Put some seal on it. So I started with the long one and I tried to get that even on the side so that I had an even amount on the top and bottom and the sides. And then I went with the next longest. Oh, come on. Why does the seal do that? Okay. And then we're going to do this. So you want to pick 3 patterns that kind of go together, you know, that will coordinate. So there's one. And so now we're going to do, oops, the tree branches will be our long one. We've got the pretty house. And I wish we still had the Misty Moonlight paper, because I think that the Misty Moonlight paper would have been really pretty, since there's a lot of blue in this, especially with these beautiful birds. I love these birds. These birds are my favorite. Like that. So that's 2 cards, and you can see they're They're all just a little bit different. There's card 3. So we've got my favorite birds. Oh, oh, that scared me. Okay. Everything just fell that I had stacked under the table. And I don't even see Smokey around. That's interesting. Okay. And here's that cute little house. There we go. So there's 3. Okay, so now we're going back. We've got the house again. Okay, so there's our 6 card fronts. Now what you could do, because there's a pretty wide margin, you could put another layer of card in there if you wanted. Okay, so the green ones, the mint macaron. Let's use, I think that should be the crumb cake. Let's use this for the mint. And let's use this one for the mint. So you could put a layer of the mint instead of using white. You could do that. You could put the layer of mint underneath the layer. You know, pull in a color that is common across this. Now these are all light colors, pastel, well not all pastel colors, but mostly pastel colors. They're all lighter colors. So what I was going to suggest was that we take this and cut this in half, and we can cut it at 4 inches and then use that on the inside of the cards, just to add a little bit more to the cards. I will show you what I mean in a minute. There we go. So there's our cards. Now what I have done is I have stamped thank you from the greetings set, and I just used some circle punches to punch these out, and I put them on a scallop circle. You could use dies. I chose to use punches just because that's what I had around. Did everyone have a great weekend? I went down to Grafton, which is about an hour from here. It's where my son bought his house, and babysat my grandpuppies because they had their 3rd wedding this week. This was their summer of weddings, including their wedding. So they had 3 weddings this summer. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, this is 1 3/4 wide, so half of that is, no, I was going to say half of it's 3/4, but that's not right because it's 1 3/4. Okay, so half of it is a little bit more, so half of it is 7/8. Okay, so I'm doing 7/8 there. That fractional math, you know, that just gets you. Okay, and then I'm going to cut this at 4 1/4. Do one of the birds on this one. So I'm just going to put this on the inside down here to add a little bit of something. Now, if this were a dark color, I would add a piece of white cardstock as a layer first before I added this, but I think because this is a pastel, we don't necessarily need to do that. Okay. And let's see, let's use this house for this one. I can also use the back sides of these too. And let's do the tree for that. Okay, oops. I have some of these left over from last year, and it's got some of the in colors in it. And then I also have some of these left over from last year, so I thought this is a great chance to use some of these up. Okay. Oh, it's not straight. Okay, so you know the little trick to how to straighten these is when it's not straight, you can see that there's a little bit hanging down here. So you, oops, extra embellishment there. Okay, so you just kind of move it up. I take the card and I kind of pinch it and move it up. And then you take your bone folder and you refold it. You kind of hold it and voila, it's straight. Okay. So good way to use up your older, pieces. I do still have some of the soft succulent here. But okay. So these are my cards. This is the cut, stack, and shuffle method. And these are the cards that I have. So I now have 12 cards that I made probably in about a little over an hour total. So it's kind of nice to have a stack of cards like that. So this would actually be a good thing to do if you have some really, really pretty Christmas papers that you like. You could do this, take different sheets and do that. So thank you for stopping by, and have a great week. If you have any questions, give me a call, drop me a note. I'm here all week, so I am not traveling for a while. Okay, take care.